This is the Rogue CT-1 cable machine. After owning it for 3 years, we're going to go through my full review and discuss whether I think this is still worth buying. This cable is smooth, and if you train heavy at home, this might just be the last cable that you need. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going through the Rogue CT-1 cable machine. We're going to break through the full review, pros, the cons, price point, things to think about, and the maintenance that I've had to do on this machine in the last 3 years, and give you everything that you need to know about this cable. And if you guys are new to the channel, my name is Jordan. I'm a gym owner, a personal trainer, an online fitness coach, and I also post gym equipment reviews here on YouTube and on my website, fitgrindreviews.com. So if you're new to the channel, and you'd like to see more reviews like this, subscribe to the channel. And if you're looking for more reviews, go check out my website after I'm watching the video today, fitgrindreviews.com. I have a bunch of equipment that I'm consistently adding reviews and blogs about that'll give you more details on what equipment is good and what equipment is not. So the Rogue CT-1 cable machine, this thing is a freaking beast. And probably no surprise if you've ever owned Rogue equipment, it is built like a freaking tank. This thing is beastly. It looks good. I think that Rogue always does a really good job with designing their equipment. It looks good in any environment. So we have it here in our personal training gym and our small group training gym. We use it as a standalone cable. It's right next to our Rogue lat pull down and our free motion trainer. So it's right next to the cables, and it just looks really good. It's tall. It definitely has a presence. It's 9 foot tall. So I think in any space, we want our equipment to look good. I think the Rogue CT-1 cable looks freaking awesome. Now, as far as some of the pros on this cable, I'd say the number one thing that I think I really love about this cable is the ability for it to be smooth and heavy at the same time. I think there's a lot of cables out on the market, and I've owned cables before when we first started our gym that we didn't pay a ton of money up front because we didn't have a ton of money to buy new equipment. And, you get what you pay for. And I think that's exactly what you get here with the Rogue cable, is that it's very smooth. It has a 250-pound weight stack, which is awesome. It has plenty of weight for most athletes for most movements. And you don't lose any of that smoothness with that heavier cable. I think that's a huge plus and huge pro of this cable. Like I mentioned, the overall look of it is awesome. I love the black look. I love the Rogue emblem here on the side. It also has a really nice handle that you can move up and down that is knurled, that is freaking awesome. And it just makes it really easy to adjust. So overall, I'll show you guys here. It's really easy. We just click the button, pull it up, pops into place. Pull it up, pops into place. And overall, the cable is very easy to adjust, has lots of adjustability, and just gives you more function on your workouts. You can do lots of different movements, from curls, pushdowns, lateral raises, any sort of accessory movement that you can think of. You have a 250-pound cable and you can set it at any height, which is going to be good for any user. Just add a lot of variety to your training. Overall, the design of this machine is very good. It's very stable. There's no sort of clanking, or there's no sort of issues. It just feels premium. It feels like great quality when you're using it. And I think this really shines in a home gym setting. If you're looking for a standalone cable unit to set to where you can have it to really do most of your movements, I think it really shines there. I think it's commercial grade. So you could have this in your personal training gym, or even a gym if you own one. This is a really great piece of equipment that, is very premium, has a great look, has great feel. It's very smooth. You're going to get great quality from this. So I think really this cable can be for anybody. Lots of adjustability. Like I said, it has a 250-pound stack. It goes up in 10-pound increments. You can set it high, you can set it low. You can do a bunch of different exercises on this machine, which is a great versatility piece to it. It also has a foot plate attachment that you can use to where you can do seated row and low row variations. One thing I do want to mention, and we'll talk about that in the con section, is that yes, it is a 250-pound weight stack, but it is a 2-to-1 ratio. So the actual pull is 125 pounds. And for most people, if you're doing low rows, you're going to get to the point where that 125 pounds or 250, because it's a 2-to-1 ratio, is going to become easy. So, for most exercises, you're not going to be maxing out 250 on tricep pushdowns and bicep curls and things like that. But at low rows, the 250 is on the lighter end for most people, or you're going to eventually reach that point. Now, there are pins that you can use plates on that it does come with. So you could set a plate, you could set bands, which I'll do a lot of that, where I'll connect a band and it gives you variable resistance, where say you're doing a tricep pushdown, and you have a 100-pound set, you put that band on there. At the top of the rep, it's 100 pounds. As you push down further and further, it becomes heavier because you're pulling more on that band. So it gives you a variable resistance. So there are ways to load it past 250 if you're doing a lower variation and it feels like, hey, 125 pounds is really not that much for me. You can add bands, you can add weight to the peg, or you can also buy a gym pin to add more weight if you need that. The other con that I would also say and point out about this machine is that it does go up in 10-pound increments, which I think for most exercises is fine. There is a 20-pound starting weight. So that's something that you got to think about if you're doing any sort of single arm, really isolation type exercises like lateral raises or reverse flies. That 20 pounds is fairly heavy to start. So for some people, that might be challenging. But for most clients, I would say that no matter what we're doing, the starting weight is fine. And then even that top end range, 250 pounds, if you're doing that on a tricep push down, that's awesome. Like I said, you can always add weight. You can always add a band to make it more challenging for you. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is in the past 3 years, what is the maintenance that we've had to do on this machine? Have we had any issues? And I'm happy to report that we haven't had any issues with this machine. Really, the only maintenance that we've needed every now and then is just to oil down the cable. And that's pretty standard when you buy a cable machine. Over time, it's not that the cable is not going to work. You're just going to feel it just not have that same kind of smooth use that it did on day one. All you got to do is just buy some oil. You're going to put it on. A lot of the times what you want to do is you want to get into the cable and you want to get into the actual pulleys. Just a light little dose of oil. And that's going to help that cable stay smooth so that when you're doing your exercises, whatever it might be, that cable is nice and smooth. You can get a good contraction and there's no sort of clanking around that weight. I would say I do it probably once a month here because it does get a lot of use in our personal training gym. But, if you have this in your home gym, you might not have to do that because it's not getting used for hours and hours and hours a day. It might be getting used 1 hour a day. So, I think that that's really low maintenance other than just wiping it down every so often. We haven't had any issues with it. It's been an awesome cable. I think that really just speaks to the overall design of Rogue's cable. I think that the overall design of the machine is very good. I've used other cables before that just when they have their inserts to the cable where they add, it's just not really a great design that is going to break down over time. What they have with their cable is an aircraft grade cable. Plus, there's also a bolt that screws in, which I think is a very good design because I've used other cables before, and actually our free motion trainer that we have over here, it's a very high-end cable, but the design is just, it's a little off, and every now and then it can pull out and you have to readjust it. So, I've had zero issues. I haven't had to adjust this whatsoever. There's a little set nut in here that keeps the cable in place. So overall, again, design, Rogue does a great job with designing their equipment. And I can't say enough about how well this piece is designed, how well it functions, and I've had zero issues after owning it for 3 years. Now, for most people, I would highly recommend this cable. What I want to talk about is a couple other cable options that Rogue has and kind of weigh out the pros and cons of each of these. Now, we have the Rogue CT-1. This is a single cable unit. It is not a functional trainer. So if you're doing any sort of cable crossover work, you're going to need to do that single arm, which still works amazing. But this is not a dual cable. They do have a CT, I think it's a CT-2 cable where it has 2 handles. But again, it's not your typical functional trainer or crossover type motion. It just has 2 cables that you can do stuff like that, but it's not going to give you the leverage of a wider cable. So something to think about. What are you going to be using this for? I think this is an awesome cable. It's very smooth. If you want a standalone unit just to do your accessory work, I think, this is the best one on the market that you can buy. It's got great design. It's got a great feel. Looks freaking awesome. It's going to last. You're not going to have any issues with it, and you're going to be able to rely on it. Now, one of Rogue's newer options that they offer that they've come out with is a CT-1M, I believe is what it's called. And it combines the single stack, single rail to be able to do your accessory type movements. Also has a 300-pound stack, and it also has a lat pull down where you can use the attachment of a lat pull down seat. This does not have that function. It is going to cost you a little bit more, especially if you want to get all the bells and whistles. But with that machine, you have a 300-pound weight stack or the option of upgrading to a 300-pound weight stack from the top cable. It has a mid-range cable that goes up and down just like this one that is a 2-to-1 ratio that is 250 pounds or 300 pounds. So it's your 2-to-1 ratio. And it has a low row option that is a 1-to-1 ratio. So really good engineering by Rogue. Again, I think you just have to ask yourself, what are you going to be using this cable for? If you're using it for accessory work, you don't mind adding bands or extra weight plates to add weight if you're doing things like low rows, I think this you can't beat. I think it's a great option. Now, if you want to be able to do lat pull downs, you want to be able to do really, really heavy rows, as well as your accessory type movements, you might want to look at that Rogue CT-1M pull down machine. It is going to cost you a little bit more. So this machine comes right down around $3,000. I think the double handle one is right around $3,500. And then that Rogue CT-M1 is going to be $3,500 to $4,000, depending on the add-ons that you're going to add on. Do you want a seat? Do you want different handles? Do you want all these different attachments and bells and whistles? You know, you have to weigh out what you're willing to pay, what you're going to use in your training, and what really makes sense for you. But overall, in my experience of owning it the last 3 years, I freaking love this cable. When we move into our next gym, we would get more space. What we're going to do is we're going to buy multiple cables of the Rogue CT-M1, and we're going to add those to our small group training section to be able to have the ability to do multiple cables, lat pull downs, low rows, all sorts of stuff like that. But for this, I highly recommend this machine for anybody that's looking for a standalone unit. Like I said, zero issues, looks awesome. It's going to last well for you. So I hope this review helps, guys. If you have questions, let me know down in the comment section below, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And go check out fitgrindreviews.com. It's my website where I post blog content and reviews on weight equipment, as well as some exclusive discounts that I have for brands that I'm an affiliate for. So go check it out. I'll leave the link in the comment section below, fitgrindreviews.com. So thanks for watching today, guys. Go check out these videos on the top of the screen next. And I'll see you guys in the next one.